Hey, all you experts out there, this is the Monetize Your Expertise podcast, where we show you how to use your skills to pay the bills. Have you ever wanted to create a business that positions you as the industry leader and go-to expert? Join me every week to hear from amazing leaders and entrepreneurs who have successfully refined their skills in order to become experts and create extremely profitable knowledge businesses. To find all of the links and tools mentioned in this episode, just go to myepodcast.com. I'm your host, Grant Weherley, the online course guy, helping you every week to monetize your expertise. Hey everybody, and welcome to this episode. I'm here with Dan O'Donnell, creator of the Better Me board game, personal development board game, and also the creator of the OD on Life podcast, ODonnlife.com, which is the letters ODonnlife.com. So thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so we're both here in Chiang Mai. We met each other here. And how long have you been living here in Chiang Mai?
Almost a year and a half.
Okay. And before that, were you back in the States? Or?
Yeah, Washington State, called Bellingham.
Okay. And that's where you're from, right?
Yep, born and raised.
Nice. So what led you to coming out here?
I could start a couple places on that. Originally, the first time I came to Thailand, it was because I played baseball in a men's league with a guy who had just gotten back from Thailand.
Okay.
And I was just meeting him, and I don't know if you ever played baseball, but you have a lot of time to stand in the outfield during batting practice.
It's very true.
So that's what we were doing, and you just talk about everything. And so we were out in left field just talking, and he said, yeah, I just got back from Thailand, da-da-da. You know, he lived in Seattle. His brother played on our team, blah, blah, blah. And I said, Thailand? Why did you go there? I'd never met anybody who had gone there, and it seemed odd to me. You know,
yeah,
everybody goes to Mexico and Hawaii and stuff.
Yeah,
Florida maybe.
Cancun.
Yeah, right. And so he said, yeah, it's unbelievable. And he just started rattling. He went straight into money, basically. Well, of course, he said the beaches are beautiful, the food's amazing, the people are nice, all that stuff. But he goes, I was staying on a beach. Our bungalow, literally, when you walk out the front door, you're in the sand, and there were 3 of us sharing it, and it cost $7 a night. Yeah, and that was on Koh Samui, and my mind was blown. I'd never heard of anything that cheap, you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, was it decent? You know, he's like, yeah, it's fine, it's nice. It's kind of like a little cabin thing on the beach, and there's a restaurant right there, and you know, you rent your scooter for. It was even cheaper back then, you know, a couple bucks a day or whatever. And yeah, I was like, man, if that's all true, I'll go. You know, he's like, I'm going again this winter. You should come. I said, okay, I'll be there. I will go. You know, nice. You better not be lying. You better meet me over there.
Yeah.
And so that was 2004 or 5, I think.
Okay.
So I got hooked on Thailand. The lifestyle was amazing. I loved it. I went back to the islands a lot of times. I visited Chiang Mai once, but I visited Thailand probably 8 or 9 times before I actually moved here.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that was...
a lot of expensive plane tickets.
Yeah. Well, you know, I was in real estate, and why not blow money, you know?
Yeah.
But... So yeah, I was doing other things for a long time that I was only able to come here on vacation before I actually finally moved here, you know, when I got rid of all my anchors basically and was able to go somewhere else.
Did you do that thing where you sell all of your stuff and just like pick up with the backpack and a suitcase? Or?
No, it was actually way worse than that. Like it wasn't that well planned because I thought I was going to be gone for a few months and come back in the summer. That was my big plan. And I came over for a few months and things went well, and I said, I don't want to go back. So I just stayed over here, and then I had to back up, I used to have a flea market. I sold it when I moved over here, but I retained the right to the basement apartment in the flea market for up to 2 years. That was the deal. Unless the flea market moved, of course. Then I was like, okay, if that happens, I'll get out, obviously. So they did move, but I was over here, so I had to rely on my friends and my family back home to sell all my stuff for me, basically, or move it. So I was kind of that wasn't real nice of me. Can you sell and move all my stuff for me, please?
Yeah.
But they did.
Well,
so thanks, Mom.
Yeah, your friends and family are very nice then.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you mentioned that you used to own a flea market. So let's walk through a little bit of your story about your past. So we've talked before that you used to be in real estate for a long time, and then you owned a flea market, and now you created a personal development board game and also run a podcast. Can you walk me through a bit of your storyline of how why you chose to get into real estate, how that looked, how long you were in it, and then what caused each transition point?
Sure. So until I came over here, I lived in Bellingham, Washington for my whole life. And I went to about a year of college and dropped out, just wasn't getting what I wanted there really.
Okay.
And I didn't know what I was going to do. I didn't have a backup plan, but I knew that college just wasn't doing it for me. So I wound up getting into real estate within, I don't know, 6 months or a year of dropping out of college.
Okay.
And I kept playing baseball at the college, which I mentioned to you earlier, which was fun. They didn't check. It was a club sport. So I would just show up. I still had the uniform, and I'd just play ball, you know? Like, I wasn't enrolled. It was cool.
Did you, like, lean over and be like, hey, guess what? I don't actually go here.
Well, we had a player coach that we elected, you know?
Yeah.
And he's like, you know, O'Donnell, are you taking classes this year? Because he knew I didn't for like 6 months. The second season I played, I wasn't taking classes, but I was technically still enrolled.
Yeah.
And then the year after that, it was just blatant. I hadn't taken a class in like a year and a half or something. And he's like, just, you know, shut up about it. Don't brag about it.
Don't ask, don't tell.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how it was. But that was fun. And I was getting into real estate while I was still doing that.
Okay.
And so I did real estate for 10 years. I bought and sold houses. Built houses. I wasn't the construction guy, but I partnered with guys who built houses, and I would find the lots, and we'd build the houses. I'd sell the house. You know, my job was to find the dirt and to sell the house, and their job was to build it. So that was all pretty cool. But
and how'd you get into that?
Yeah, the reason I actually remember I was looking on Monster.com. You remember that website? Did you ever use that?
Is that job finding?
Yeah, it might still be around. You're younger than me too, and it was a big deal for a while. And now nobody uses it. Yeah. So I was on Monster.com. I remember there were a few nights. I remember one night in particular, I was visiting a friend in Redmond, and I was Redmond, Washington by Seattle, where Microsoft is. And I was laying there on my back in bed, just staring at the ceiling, and I couldn't fall asleep because I had no idea what I was doing. All I'd been doing, that was the phase of my life where I was drunk 3 to 5 nights a week, going up to Canada with my friends because the drinking age was 19 up there. And
they're going to say to get weed.
No, right. You want to smoke it before you cross the border, though.
Yeah, exactly. I saw a movie about that.
Right, yeah, or get a helicopter or a boat, I've heard. I don't do that. So anyway, I just really wasn't doing anything. I was having fun, you know, eating a lot of Jack in the Box tacos at 4 a.m. and like sitting in my dad's hot tub.
Man, that's the life.
Yeah, you know, it's not too bad. Yeah. But it was just bugging me that I didn't know what direction I was going in.
Yeah.
I was helping my dad's friend build a log home just because by default, you know, and I was up there like 4 hours a day, and we'd eat peanuts and listen to the Mariners play like on the radio half the time, and it was just a joke. But anyway, I was looking on Monster.com, and I saw a real estate position open down in Redmond, Washington. And that's near Seattle, basically.
Okay.
And I was amazed. I was like, whoa, entry level, no experience required. And now I know, and probably most people know, that you don't need any experience to get started in real estate. It's a sales job. If you make money, they make money. If you don't, they actually make money off you because you're paying dues and stuff. They don't care.
Yeah.
I mean, they want you to make money so you stick around and keep paying your dues, but they don't lose money if you don't make any.
Yeah.
So I was like amazed that there was an entry-level position, and it was only about an hour and a half away. I was like going to relocate to Redmond to go work for these guys because
at the drop of a hat, just like when you saw the poster, you're like, I'm going to move there.
Yeah, well, you know, like sales, and I thought I could sell real estate. I just thought I could figure it out.
Yeah.
I knew a lot of people. I would be better in my hometown, but, you know, I knew a lot of people. My mom was a teacher. She knew everybody. So there's no ceiling in a sales job, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you can make $50,000 or you can make $500,000. And I like that.
Yeah.
If I hustle, I can make something happen. It's not just hourly, you know.
So how old were you at this time?
I got my real estate license when I was 20.
Okay. Well, I'm impressed with your mindset at that age. That just like, you know, I don't really know a lot about this, but like I can figure it out and I'll just do it. And it's, you know, a lot of people, I think, or would be hung up on that. Like, so what led you to believe that you'd be successful at it? Did you just have the concept that you could learn it and you just figure it out? Or? Yeah,
that's pretty much it. I mean, I thought I was smart enough, you know, I never had trouble in school or anything like that. So that part of it didn't freak me out, like the learning the book stuff.
Okay.
And I thought, you know, I'm pretty good at talking to people and making deals on things. You know, I mean, literally selling a house isn't that different than going to like a garage sale and getting a good deal on a used suit or something. Yeah. You know, like it's just all like people skills and negotiating and being comfortable, being willing to go up and talk to somebody. Mm-hmm. Like it could be on the phone or it could be knocking on somebody's door that has a for sale sign in the yard or something. You know, just being able to handle that like chance that you might get rejected. Or, you know.
Do you get rejected a lot in real estate? Or?
Everybody does.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
so it's like a typical sales job where it's like 90% rejection.
Right. And it really depends on like where most of your leads come from. In real estate, I mean, the best leads are referrals. They're either coming from like a realtor you know that's a couple hours away who doesn't work in your market area, and they're like, hey, I've got this guy, I just sold his house, he's coming up your way, you know, because they put in a good word for you. You know how that goes. So the word of mouth and referrals is huge. Mm-hmm. It's that social proof. Or, you know, your neighbor has a friend and you've known that neighbor for years and they trust you and all that. So that's the easy way. And usually as your career goes on, you start getting more and more of that. as long as you treat people right and do a good job, you start getting referrals.
Build some social capital.
Yeah. And that's, in my opinion, that's the easy way to do it,
Yeah.
And the right way. But not like I decide what's right and wrong. The wrong way is you just what do they call them? Shuck them and huck them. It's like, I think that comes from oysters. I'm from the Northwest. So some people are just always like cold calling on the phone and sending out letters, knocking on doors, and they do kind of a half-assed job, and they don't get any referrals. So they have to keep doing all that for their whole career.
So it's just the hustle approach.
Yeah, and it can work, but it's the hard way.
Yeah.
And you see the people who have been doing it right, like they're nice people and they're honest and they work hard and they know what they're doing. After 5 or 10 years, their career looks easy from the outside. They still have a lot of work to do, but the business is coming to them mostly. So, anyway, to get back to, you asked, like, why did I think I could do it? I think, honestly, it went back. I think if you do anything hard and you see that you can make progress and get better, like, all it takes is some dedication, some work. For me, it was probably sports mostly.
Yeah.
I saw, like, if I'm willing to go run or lift weights or whatever, I get stronger, I get better. If I practice catching a football, I get better at that. Like, it's just a matter of reps.
Yeah.
And so I thought, real estate's got to be the same. I'll just get around people who know what they're doing, ask a lot of questions, read a lot of information about the market or whatever.
It's a tweetable quote. Real estate is like weightlifting.
Yeah.
Do the reps.
Yeah, do the reps. Arnold Schwarzenegger always talks about that, like in anything. Do your reps. He talks about it with like rehearsing for movies or speeches as a governor. He was like, I had to go do my reps. Went in a room alone and practiced his speech.
3 sets of 3.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. So you kind of mentioned about how success, or at least success in the right way as a realtor, came from, being a nice person and kind of building social networks and things like that. And it's really interesting because that's one thing that I've consistently heard and consistently learned. Like, for example, I've already interviewed my friend David Anderson, he's like the sales guy. Like, it's his thing. It's what he helps people with. It's what he focuses on. And it's so interesting because, like, the concept of a salesperson is so, like, sketchy and, like, pushy and annoying. Yeah. But and I've also read studies about this too. It's just like the most successful salespeople are actually, like, really nice. They're really personable. Like, you're really nice, and, like, if you're going to be a douchebag, then you're going to actually fail miserably at sales, or at least you'll struggle to.
If you have something that people really want and you're the only person that can get it from, then you'll still make some sales if you're like that. But in real estate, that's not how it is. There's where I came from at the time I was doing it. I mean, my county was like 130,000 people, and there were 700 realtors.
Oh wow!
So everybody not only probably knew somebody who was a realtor, but was more than likely related to somebody who was a realtor. So, like, you better be nice.
Yeah.
You better call people back. You better show up when you say you're going to show up,
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of businesses are like that. I mean, there's more than one insurance place to go to, and there's more than one mattress store to go to, a car lot, whatever.
So do you think that was the key to your success, is consistency, being personable, having that mindset that you can just do it and go out there and put yourself out there? Or
Yeah, I think that definitely helped. And then I was kind of doing two things at once. So I did the real estate sales part, and that all helped a lot with that. And then I was also investing. So I was buying, little beater houses and renting them out. I was dividing land, like finding a house with a big yard that I realized could be another lot. And usually, like I did my reps on that. I went down to City Hall like several times a week, sometimes more than once in a day, and was talking to the planning department people at the counter about, like, this house has a big yard. What can we do here? Oh, well, no, that's hard because the sewer's in the wrong place. Well, okay, what if we dug up the sewer and moved it? Then can we do it? It's what if?
Yeah.
Because some of them were awesome. Actually, this comes back to the people skills. I made a couple, like, really good connections down there at City Hall. There was a guy named Kurt and a girl named Darby, who I later sold her a house. But she was brand new when I was doing that already. So she showed up fresh out of college. Didn't really know anything, and honestly, everything took twice as long as it should because she was new.
Yeah.
But I was nice about it, and I would actually kind of help guide her. Like, actually, there's this, check out this page over here, and there's this little trick, and, she's like, oh, okay, cool. Let me just double check with, her boss or whatever. But anyway, so I kind of like was there and was nice to her while she was learning. And then, of course, she got really good after a few years, and she was super helpful to me.
Yeah.
And this guy, Kurt, was the same way. He was all about, like, how could it work? And I think he looked at it like a puzzle, because he knew all the planning code really well. And he's like, okay, well, if we move that fence 5 feet, or like you're going to have to rip those concrete steps off the side of the house because they come within 3 feet of the property line. But if you can rip those steps off, we literally did this one time. We ripped some cement steps away from a house. And then where there was that door, we made it into a wall. And we had to put another door like in the back because you have to be able to run out in a fire.
Yeah.
But once those steps were gone, we had the 5-foot clearance from the property line. And we magically had another lot, and we built another house. And so if you go down to City Hall and you just say, can I build a house on this second lot? You know, this house is on 2 lots. Can I build a house on this second lot? And they say, sorry. They look at the aerial photo and they measure it roughly and they go, no, those steps come within like 2 feet of the property line. It's too close because you have to have 5 feet there.
Yeah.
And people just like,
well.
Yeah, I tried.
Yeah.
You know, but you say, well, okay, is that like, what if I get rid of the steps? You know, do they still count or can I move them? He's like, oh, yeah, you could do that. You want to do that? I'm like, yeah. You know, that'll cost like $1,000 maybe to frame it in and put a new door in the back or whatever.
Easy button. That was easy.
Yeah, and there's your $100,000 lot that's just sitting there.
Yeah.
You know. So anyway, people skills helped in both aspects of what I was doing, but specialized knowledge is key.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
like you have a lot of specialized knowledge. Like you really know courses and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and like
stuff.
And
that's
stuff.
the important part.
Yeah. And if I ever have questions about courses, like
and stuff.
And stuff, I would probably call you and be like, hey, what's this stuff?
Yeah.
But I think specialized knowledge is really key. Like general knowledge is good, but specialized knowledge usually makes you more money.
Oh, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
like if you know how to change oil in a car, that's cool. You know, you can make what, $15 an hour maybe working at Jiffy Lube or something. I don't know what they make. But if you know how to repair like the computers on Jaguars, like, okay, now you're going to, I don't know how much they make either, but
probably
you're going to make more.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? I mean, specialize in something and you're probably going to make more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
you were in real estate for a while.
Yeah.
And then you transitioned out into what? And what caused that?
It was a slow transition. While I was in real estate, I started positiveatmosphere.com, which is a community site, still exists.
Okay.
And
what's that about?
It's putting people all in the same place who are into personal development.
Okay.
And that's kind of like the underlying theme with almost everything I do. Mm-hmm. Whether it's my podcast or the game or whatever, it gets people like discussing with each other, being around each other with similar interests.
Yeah. And so can you stop for a second and define personal development? Because I think it's kind of a broad term with multiple meanings. So what does that mean to you?
Totally. It's very broad. There's different aspects of it. So people are usually working on different things. Mm-hmm. One person might be working on finances. One person might be working on health. You know, maybe they're trying to have a better diet and get some exercise. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the other guy might already have that kind of handled, but he's working on his relationship because he's been fighting with his wife or something, you know? And so I think it's just like assessing, you know, what your priority is right now and what are you working on right now. I'm sure there's something you're working on right now.
Always.
And there's stuff I'm working on.
Yeah. What are you working on right now?
One of mine, like a small little example. A couple of them. And I haven't committed totally on this because I'm not sure how important it is. My sleep schedule is not the typical sleep schedule of like a really productive person.
Really? What is it?
I go to bed late and I get up late.
Okay.
You know?
And so what is late?
I usually would go to bed like 2 to 3 and then get up. I don't use an alarm, so I just get up when I'm rested. So that usually I'm waking up around 10 or something. Okay. Which is why I don't really do like morning meetings and stuff.
Yeah.
So, you know, like if I was a banker, that would ruin me, right?
Yeah.
Like, but I'm not. I work online, and sometimes I, you know, have calls to the U.S. and I'm over here in Thailand. So I'm trying to figure out if that actually matters. I'm trying to assess that.
Yeah. I've gone both ways myself as well. It's like, should you go, like you said, do maybe work late at night when you're not disturbed, or should you wake up early and get all your work out of the way? There's, you know, especially with the time difference, you either have to do it early morning or late evening. So you kind of got to either get up really early or stay up really late.
And a lot of really productive people, when you look at what they do, they work before everybody else is up.
Yeah.
Before all the distractions start.
Yeah.
But I tend to do that after all the distractions are over.
Yeah.
Aside from like the come out and drink with us distraction.
Yeah.
Which I'm just not that interested in that anymore. Okay. So it's not that hard for me. Like for me, that's easy to give up to do something else.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if I don't have anything else going on, I'll go out and have fun, whatever. But if I'm excited about a project, I don't mind working at home in the night. Mm-hmm. So anyway, something I am working on though is traffic gets to me. Like getting stuck in traffic or having somebody slow in front of me or people cutting me off, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. That irritates me. And I've been able to like overcome that when I really focus on it. Like that intersection over by the MYE Mall.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
Yeah.
It takes like 8 hours.
Yeah, and you're sitting like in all the gross smoke from the taxis and stuff. And, but one day I was going, I think, to Thai class, and I decided to kind of shift my focus.
So you're learning Thai?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm at the very end right now of my education visa.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that. So, sorry for the tangent, but you speak Thai pretty well?
That's right. We're talking about personal development.
Exactly.
Pom Pu Thai Nit Noi. A little
Okay.
bit.
Yeah, I know a little.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, so I mean, I wasn't like the world's best student.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody knows it's a good visa. It's a 1-year visa. You don't have to leave to do visa runs. You just go check in. So yeah, I was actually way more diligent in the beginning, but then I started missing the class here and there, and it wasn't.
Can you actually just get the education visa and never go to class?
Well, the thing is, you go check in every 90 days at the immigration office, and if they can tell you know nothing, you're probably not.
Oh, they test you at the immigration office. They just kind of chit chat a little bit, and if you know nothing, they'll be able to tell. Okay.
And I was down there doing my check-in one time, and I saw 2 girls get denied. And they actually went to the same school I went to.
Yeah.
So then the people from our school came down, and I think they fixed it. I think they got like a little bit of a shame on you. Your students don't know anything. That kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
But it was easy for me. I mean, I would just say a couple things. The last time I checked in, because I was 9 months into my education visa, the lady has like Xeroxes of children's books pages on her desk under the glass, and she, I was just kind of laughing, looking at the stuff, and she pointed at like mango sticky rice, and in Thai she asked me if I liked it, and in Thai I said, yeah, I like it, but it's really sweet, and that was it. She's like, all right, you know enough, yes.
And to put this in perspective for anybody who's listening, so visas in Thailand is a bit of an issue because, so you get a visa on arrival. Most countries do for, I forget if it's 29 or 30
I'm just
days.
going to be like the guys in the Nomads group right now. It's not a visa on arrival, it's a visa exemption.
Well, yeah, actually, since you run that group.
Technically true.
Which is something that we'll talk about later. He started and runs the Chiang Mai Digital Nomads Facebook group, which is really, really popular here because there's so many, which visa questions come up all the time in. So anyways, most people end up having to leave every month or two and like just leave the country real quick and come back. And so there's a lot of interest in how to get longer term visas like double entry tourist visas or education visas, etc. So that's why this is actually like important because with some other countries you can just kind of go in, leave, whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes like Malaysia, I think you get like 3 months or something.
Yeah, Americans do. That's what I got.
Yeah,
Depends on where you're from, probably.
Yeah, and the same thing with like the Philippines. It doesn't really matter.
Philippines, I heard it's up to 2 years and with no paperwork. You can be there for 2 years.
You have to do extensions still, but like you don't have to leave.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to pay a little bit, and it's like $100 or something for like 6 months.
I've also, in case people are interested, I've heard Panama is really easy. I don't know the details.
Yeah.
I just showed up in Hong Kong and got a 90-day stamp.
Yep. I was just there as well.
And then this is a recent thing. I was going to China to talk to the manufacturers that a few potential manufacturers.
Yeah, China's hard to get a visa for, right?
Well, you have to get one.
Yeah.
And it was easy. It just took a few days. I went in, filled out some stuff. I was out in less than an hour, and then I went back to get it, and I was out in like 10 minutes. It was basically just, here's your number. Okay, you're up. Here you go. And they handed it to you. And she handed it to me, and this was like, literally, I think it happened within a couple weeks of when I got my visa. But she hands it to me, and I'm usually confused by visas. I haven't done it a million times, and I was like, okay, so we're good. Everything worked out, right? And she goes, yeah. And then she explained it to me. She goes, you have a 10-year visa, multiple entries. And I said, okay.
10 years?
Yeah, I was like,
what?
And I didn't really I didn't know what to expect. I didn't really care because I was only going for 5 days. And I knew whatever I got would be good enough for 5 days.
Yeah.
Right? So I did no research, but I go, okay, wait, so 10 years, does that mean, like, if I want to go back next year, do I have to come in here and pay again or something? And she's like, no, you're good. Like, that one fee I paid, which I forget how much it was. I think it was about $130 or $140.
Yeah.
And I was actually initially a little offended because the little reading I did about it said Americans pay like $130 or $140, and other people, like everybody else, pays like $30 or $40. I'm like, what? It's $100 more for us.
Yeah.
And I thought it was probably something one of our presidents said pissed him off and they raised the fee or something. But so I felt better when I got a 10-year.
Yeah,
and
that's awesome.
it's I think just Americans because we gave them a really good deal too.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's actually like way cheaper than like for example like Thailand you have to pay like 1,900 baht to extend for just like a month. And so if you do the math with that,
it's
like insanely
$50
cheap.
or $60.
Yeah.
Every time. Yeah.
So it's like for a month, right?
If you're gonna go there a few times, it's really cheap. Yeah.
And
it's
and in 10 years, like if you're a world traveler, you're inevitably going to end up in China, popping in and out.
And I can go for 90 days at a stretch, and I might just be ignorant, but I don't think there's like a certain amount of time I have to leave for. I think I could like be there for 90 days, go somewhere else for a week, come back for 90 days. I think I could be wrong.
And so is it like unlimited entry?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know.
I can look into that. So anyways, we've kind of gone way off topic here. So yeah, the things you're working on. So you're also working on being patient, not getting frustrated in traffic.
Yeah. I actually did, if you guys are interested in all the details on this, I did a podcast. This was such a success for me one day that I'm about to tell you about.
Okay.
I did a podcast episode on it. So at ODonnlife.com, I think I called it Dan versus the Stoplight.
Okay.
And I always got irritated. What I realized was I had this pattern of when I got to Thai class, I was kind of irritated.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that sucks. Like there's nice people in my class. My teacher's nice. I'd rather be in a good mood when I walk in the door.
Yeah, and also actually studies show that if you're like in a bad mood, you won't learn as well. Right. So if you're happy, you'll learn better. So.
Yeah. So I left my place, and as I was riding, I'm probably like 5 minutes away from that light, I decided that I was just going to change my focus, my goal. Mm-hmm. So I made my goal to arrive in a good mood. That was the only goal. And I think by default, my goal usually, I don't really think about it consciously.
Is to get there as fast as possible?
Right.
Yeah.
To win the race, right?
Woo, yay, Americans being impatient.
Right, totally. And so that meant a lot of things. Like if somebody cut me off and went slow, I'd get offended. Like if they were going to go slow, why didn't they wait for me to go by and then they could go on? Which logically that makes sense, but I can't really change it, so why worry about it? And then I would also always pull right up to the front at the intersection. So anyway, I pull up to that intersection, and I'm looking for ways to enjoy it and not get irritated. So one thing I noticed that I wouldn't have noticed otherwise is there was a building that was making shade up until like 60 feet before the intersection. Mm-hmm. So instead of going all the way to the front and baking in the sun like I normally do, mm-hmm. And it's like 100 degrees is a normal day around here.
Yeah.
So I stopped like 60 feet short in the shade.
Yeah.
And I also made sure not to be behind some vehicle with gross exhaust, because there's the little tuk-tuk taxis around here are pretty gross, and the Sangtaos. And so I stopped somewhere where I had decent air, and it was in the shade. And because I stopped short, it was like this, it all was like a domino effect. Then I had a different view than usual, and I was right next to the fountain in front of MYE, which is kind of cool to zone out and watch.
Yeah, MYE is actually a really beautiful mall.
Yeah. And then there's also a really big spirit house there. The like thing that looks like a miniature temple that's out front.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they have a really big one.
Yeah.
And there's this really cool Ganesh statue in there, and it's just pretty nice. So I'm watching the fountain, checking out the spirit house that they had just built. It was new then. And I just wasn't in the sun, and I wasn't focusing on being in a hurry and winning the race. And anyway, long story short, because I shifted my goal, I got to class, and I wasn't pissed off. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, all right, that's all it is I've been, by default, setting the wrong goal. Yeah. And that's been resulting in me being pissed off.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the way that I figured that out, I just had to think back, because, I might, if class didn't go exactly how I wanted, I might be irritated still at the end of class. And I'm like, why am I irritated right now on my way home? And I kind of would retrace my steps, like when you're looking for your keys, mm-hmm. right? Like, when was I first irritated? Because I woke up, I wasn't irritated, mm-hmm. And I would realize it was that stoplight, mm-hmm. And it's ruined like a few hours of my day sometimes if things kept, and not like ruined, like I wasn't having the worst day ever.
Yeah.
Just I wasn't having like the best day ever either.
Yeah, it interferes with your happiness.
Yeah.
And your presence of mind. Yeah. And actually, I read a really good book recently about happiness by Matthew Ricard. And there was a really interesting concept that I found, I've read lots of stuff about personal development, happiness, etc., meditation, all this stuff. So one thing that I read in that book, which was something I had not really thought about deeply before, is how often a sense of ego and self-importance leads directly to anger and different negative emotions. Right. So for example, if you're like, I'm gonna get there as fast as possible, I can do this, I'm gonna go so fast, and somebody cuts you off, it's like a personal offense, right? Yeah. It's like, how could they possibly do that to me? It's so freaking rude. Right. Why would they do that?
Being offended is a sure sign of ego, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's so interesting, because I never really connected those two things in my head, is that if you have no sense of self-importance, and I mean this in a negative way, you can be confident but not have a sense of self-importance, then all of a sudden it's basically impossible for you to get offended by somebody being rude or somebody attacking you. You're just like, oh, that's unfortunate, you're attacking me.
And I was Ram Dass talks about this. I don't know if you ever stumbled on Ram Dass's stuff.
Ram Dass,
yeah.
Sounds like a made-up name.
He's a guy that he used to work with Timothy Leary. He's from that whole 60s hippie drug scene and stuff. And then he got into meditation and teaching and became kind of like a guru guy. He's still around. And anyway, he always talks about what other people do is about them. you know, and how you react is about you. So like the guy that cuts you off didn't do it because he hates you and he, you know, he doesn't think you're important. He's just like going somewhere and he might not have even seen you, and you make it all personal. And so that's our responsibility.
Yeah, and I found it really helpful that if you stop and realize that you're upset about something, to like, because there's always like, okay, well, if you're mad, count to 10 and do deep breathing, blah, blah. It's all really useful. But one thing I never tried, which I read in this book, which I thought was really useful and effective, is that like, finding that connection between how you're currently offended and how that's offending your sense of self-importance, and then realizing that connection and being like, well, I don't want to be arrogant and self-important, and then releasing that sense of self-importance, and then by extension, you'll no longer be offended.
And it might even seem funny and ridiculous.
Ideally, you can laugh. Well, you can laugh at yourself.
What was I doing?
I know. It's like I was just being so.
Or maybe it's time to apologize to somebody if you lashed out.
Exactly.
And then you can do that because you're not like needing to be right.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know? That was another thing. This is fresh on my mind because I've listened to it at the gym the last couple times I was there. But Ram Dass was talking about his guru. He was pissed off at several people back when he was a professor, and he had a lot of ego going on, and he knew he was right and they had done something wrong to him. And, you know, like looking at it from the outside, that it's true. Like he had good points and all of that. But, you know, his guru guy, so he was all caught up in being right and how they were wrong and, you know, trying to figure out how to resolve it. And they probably owed him an apology and all that kind of stuff, which he can't control if they're going to apologize to him or not, right?
Yeah.
And his guru said, you just need to let it go. And then, you know, Ram Dass, I don't know what he replied, but
but I'm right, because they're wrong, and they're
And then so he said, no. Don't work on it. Don't try to fix it. Just let it go.
Yeah.
You know, it's that simple. And actually, when I was listening to that, like, I don't know, a week or two ago, the first time I heard that, it hit home with me because there was something I was holding a grudge. I felt like I was right and I had been wronged and you know. And
do you mind sharing what that is, or is it like really
I'm going to keep that one to me for now.
No worries.
Yeah, just because, you know, whatever.
That's fine.
I do try to be transparent usually, but this one's too fresh.
Yeah, that's okay. I've actually, you mind, what was the thing you were listening to? I want to write this down. I'm curious.
Well, I was on SoundCloud on my phone, and it was, the guy's name is Ram Dass, Ramdass.
Okay.
And his real name was something else before that, but that's like...
So it is a made-up name.
Oh yeah, did you say that?
Yeah, like, it sounds like a made-up name.
And I said no?
No, I think we just kept talking.
Yeah, just ignored you.
Hilarious.
Cool. I think he got that like from his guru or something.
Well, it sounds like a computer.
It's like
I think
Muhammad
DOS
Ali
operating system and a CD-ROM. So
right.
Like refers
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I like tech.
Yeah. There's a lot of people's names, like Hindu guys, where it ends with Das, like Krishna Das. And Das, I don't know what it means. It means something.
So what's the name of do you remember? Or?
You know, there's a million of them. It was like Letting Go of Anger or something like that was the name of the track, maybe.
Okay.
But you'll find anything by Ram Dass is good. You'll have no problem finding good stuff.
Okay, cool, yeah. I guess I'll put a link to that to show
Sure,
listeners.
yeah. And he's all over other people's podcasts. Like he was on Duncan Trussell's podcast, if you happen to know that one. That's a good one. Really cool guy. But he's got, you can find videos of him from like the 70s and stuff on YouTube. And it's all over the place. He's a great guy.
Nice, so he does good work. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So anything else that you're working on? Patience,
forgiveness, which we just touched on there.
Yeah.
Trying to decide if I care that I'm not an early riser. I'm leaning towards not caring right now.
Okay.
And I feel like I gave it the old college try a few months ago.
Oh, that sounds really motivated. Like,
I
kind of tried it.
No, you know what I did? I was playing a game of Better Me, actually, I think, is when I wrote this goal down. But I decided...
Oh, and maybe this is a good segue, just real quick tangent to talk about Better Me. That's actually how we met. It's a personal development board game that Dan created, which is really interesting. And I actually went to it the first time. He sent out an event to the local Chiang Mai community to play this personal development board game, and just like, oh, cool, this is like a way to meet other people interested in personal development, which is something that a lot of people actually aren't, or at least not enough to go to a well, I guess actually here there are a lot of people, which is rare,
more than usual, I think.
But it's a good way to meet other people who have that interest, which is kind of hard to find.
I remember you saying that when you showed up to the game, and I thought that was smart.
That's the only reason I came, actually. Like, of course I like board games as well too, but it's more about like, oh, cool, it's a medium to meet other people who have that interest, right?
Totally. It attracts those people like a magic magnet. It's awesome. I've met so many good people. I mean, I might have met you another way if we didn't play that game, but
Yeah, Chiang Mai is
Maybe
pretty
not,
small. But
you know, but we haven't really been at like the same person's dinner or something. Like,
That's true,
we might not know each other if it wasn't for the game, basically.
Yeah.
Or I might kind of know your face, but not really. You know.
Yeah.
And then that same game, I met you, I met Janie, like really quality people.
Yeah.
And then in previous games, I met good friends. Some of them, a lot of them actually have left. You know, people are kind of in Chiang Mai like half the year and stuff.
Did you actually just make that to make friends, find cool people?
If I would have known how it would do that, then yes, but no,
Yeah.
it was a surprise to me.
Yeah, because we talked about how like it would be good to find cool friends to do that, also like dates and all kinds of interesting things.
Yeah, it would.
Business partners probably.
Yeah, really. I mean, you know, we've talked about like affiliate stuff and different business stuff that you're strong on that I don't know that much about, and like that's helped me out. And yeah, I mean, I met my good buddy Russell, who he moved to China, Russell Smith.
Yeah. That's the friend I mentioned.
You knew him before I knew him, I think.
Yeah, okay.
You guys went to some retreat thing together or something, I think. The thing in Bangkok, maybe?
The DC thing in Bangkok in October.
So yeah, anyway, I mean, good dude. And I met him. He was up from Phuket just visiting. He saw the thing. He came to the game, and then he brought his buddy Lee Webb, who so now we're all buddies. And you know, Lee's back in England, Russell's in China, but we're friends, and it's cool, you know. And I realized like 6 months into living here that the majority of the people I hung out with, I met through Better Me.
Interesting.
You know, it was and I mean, I was hosting games fairly often.
Yeah.
But anybody could do that. You don't have to make the game to do that. I mean, anybody listening, I'll plug it. You go to bettermegame.com and it's free. You can you can always buy the box version, but there's a free print and play. Mm-hmm. So you just print off the game board itself and the player sheets because there's written commitments going on. You print those two things off. The cards are all online, so you can use a tablet or your phone or your laptop, whatever. And you can play. So it's free, totally free, no catch. I don't even capture your email, which probably drives you nuts a bit.
A little bit. And so again, for anyone who's listening and they want to do that, it's a great way to meet people in a very genuine way, whether you're looking for a girlfriend or a business partner or just like, meet other cool people, just because unfortunately in modern society, like you might talk to somebody at a bar or like run into somebody at a networking event, and there's a sort of a layer of superficiality to it. Like it's hard to really go deep and get to know somebody. But actually I think the game is very well designed with that respect to help you develop positive habits, but also share sort of personal experiences. And I've done other exercises like that too. Like, hey, you can go through this list of questions to get to know somebody really well, right? There's strategies for like first dates to do that. But this is the first like actual structured game that I've seen where you can do that with a group of people at once. That's really effective. So
and something I always forget to mention that I want to say is the game, what makes it really different than most games, you're not just sharing stories and talking and having a good time there, but a lot of the cards, to earn a point, you have to make a written commitment to do something later. So it might be to like make someone's day. It might be to put a positive message in public. It might be, a lot of them you decide what it is. So you might make some kind of health goal. Like one of them, Estrella, she played the day that you played. She decided to cut out all sweets for 2 weeks, and then she got on a roll and did it for 6 weeks.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
So she kept up with it.
And she even she was posting in our Facebook group like pictures of the cake her friend was eating when she was hanging out with this friend, and she's like, and I didn't even touch it.
That's awesome.
I'm sitting here staring at it, not eating any of it.
Yeah, and she's Thai too, right? Which is like there's a lot of sweets in Thai culture.
Yeah, definitely. So it was, and that was cool because we have this Facebook group where people hold each other accountable and share what they're working on, and so that actually inspired me because I was, I eat pretty well, but for whatever reason, I was getting one of those little Cornetto ice cream cones every night.
I totally developed that same habit in the 7-Elevens or whatever. Yeah,
it's just on the way home, pick up an ice cream cone.
They're surprisingly good too.
They are, man. They're the little ones with the paper wrapping, and they're pretty good. So, but she didn't touch a sweet. I mean, she was basically addicted to sugar and quit cold turkey and kept it up for 6 weeks before she had a couple cookies. Yeah. And so that inspired me. And once in a while I get something sweet now, but usually I'm like, man, if she can do it for 6 weeks, I don't need an ice cream cone tonight.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe I'll get one tomorrow if I feel like it. But, and usually it's just this little like 20-minute window where I really want an ice cream cone. Mm-hmm. And if I just don't get one right then, like a half an hour later, I don't even care.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
It's like right after eating dinner, you're like, oh, where's my ice cream cone?
Yeah, I mean, I think oftentimes the negative things that we do they're habits. And so if you, if you're craving a sweet or something, like oftentimes it's not really that you want it that much, so much as it's like a habit. Like you develop that habit of going by a 7-Eleven and grabbing some ice cream, which I totally developed that habit actually recently as well. Yeah. And I kept having the urge to do it. And I would actually like start picturing actually eating it. I was like, well, that would be nice. Like, it's good, but then, it's not really worth it. I don't really care that much. It's just a habit now.
Yeah. And you know what else too? Like, if you don't want to do it cold turkey, something that works for me is, okay, the ice cream cones, they're not enormous, but it's like a pretty big sweet thing.
Yeah.
And there are some really good little sweet things there.
Yeah, exactly.
There are those little things that are like a little, kind of like a cheap version of a truffle type of thing. But it's like the size of a ping pong ball.
Oh, yeah, those little, like, really...
brown wrapper things.
Yeah.
They're good.
Those are really good. They're really high-end, like, gourmet stuff, but they're small.
Yeah, and they're cheap. They're like $5.
Yeah.
Which is, what, 12... What? No, what is that? That's like 5 cents.
Yeah.
No, it's more than that. Can't think of it.
It's
now.
negligible.
15 cents.
It's like a quarter or something.
Yeah. So, I just get one of those instead. So, and then I got a little bit of something sweet, and that's all I really wanted.
Yeah.
I didn't really want like a whole... I wasn't hungry.
And actually, there's a good trick that my friend who is doing a keto diet for sweets, just because like you start to really crave it if you're on a keto diet. So he would just get like several packs of mints that were really sweet and gum that was really sweet, but with like healthy artificial sweeteners.
Yeah.
So it's always
stevia is good.
Yeah, and just like so it's always 0 sugar, but also like with the positive artificial flavors. And so he would have that, and that would, whenever he would crave sweets, he would just like suck on the mints, chew the gum, and that actually satisfied the psychological craving for sweets.
Yeah.
So.
And that's all, something I'm a big fan of is just experimenting. See what works for you, see what other people are doing, try it. If it fits, wear it, you know what I mean? If it doesn't, if I say something that doesn't work for you, whatever, I'm not offended.
What's the most interesting experiment or maybe like result that you've gotten from an experiment that you've run in terms of habits, health, anything like that?
Yeah. Just, to answer a different question, kind of like the sleep thing that I started to mention, this isn't that interesting, but what I did in a game, I committed to 30 days of getting up at 7 a.m., 7 days a week,
Did you actually do it?
I missed a couple days a little bit.
Yeah.
Like my phone was going crazy, and so they
sure.
No, that really happened. But you know what though? Even though like my smartphone was doing something weird, and the app for the alarm clock didn't work.
Okay.
So, but I still woke up at like maybe before 8, which isn't my typical thing. So what I thought was, I tried getting up early for like short stretches, but I'm like, if I do 30 days, maybe I'll actually get used to it.
Yeah.
And like reset my internal clock, right? Didn't happen though.
Really?
I just was pretty tired for a month. Yeah.
So
I took some naps too.
Did you actually like go to sleep at like midnight or whatever? Or
around then, yeah. And if I somehow didn't get to bed as early as I should have, I would take a nap the next day, but I wouldn't sleep in. I would get up at 7, and then it's fine.
Nice.
Maybe after lunch I'd take a little nap or something.
Yeah, because that's the hardest thing that I have with consistently waking up at like 7 a.m. earlier is that inevitably there's going to be nights where you stay out too late by just something's going on or you're going out or something. And then how do you handle that? Because me personally, I really struggle to take naps, so there's no easy way to compensate. So either I'm going to get like way less sleep than I would ideally get, or I start to like break the habit of waking up early. And so those kinds of lifestyle things, and like it's so actually one thing I was trying for a while is biphasic sleeping. But the problem then is I couldn't actually drink caffeine, which kind of sucked because I like caffeine. I like coffee. I work better with it. But so I was like going to try that to be able to wake up early, but also stay up late if you have a very consistent schedule of core sleep and then also a long nap. But then there's the issue of I couldn't drink caffeine, which I like to work, and there's 90% of the places you can work in Chiang Mai are based around like coffee shops, and it's you almost like feel it's really hard to have the habit of not drinking caffeine when you are a digital nomad, because so many times you're working at a coffee shop, and so you have to like turn down the coffee while you're inevitably having to buy something to.
What? This is another goal I set in a Better Me game, actually, was I was getting too into coffee. And I've never really had a big coffee habit, but basically if I drink it every day just because, I'm like, if I'm doing it just because, it's harsh to call it an addiction, but it kind of is. If I'm doing it just because.
And you develop a tolerance to it.
Yeah,
some people get
I guess you could call it a habit. Because I could quit. It's not like I would die.
That's what addicted people say, actually.
Right. Yes, true. You're right. You got me. But what I did was substitute green tea.
Oh, yeah, I've actually recently done the same thing. There's these massive, 1 liter bottles of green tea. Because the problem I always had is I tried to actually do that same exact thing, substituting coffee for green tea multiple times because of the lower amount of caffeine and also the theanine.
Yes, right. It's supposed to avoid the spike and crash.
Yeah, and in some ways you actually concentrate a lot better, right? And the problem I had is that like constantly brewing green tea was a total pain in the ass.
Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I'm not home,
Yes.
and like a lot of places don't have it, and so I mean, yeah, you can carry it around. And then
You could
hot
like
water.
make a big thing and put it in a water bottle or something.
Yeah, but it's kind of a pain, and I don't actually have a good thing at the place I'm staying. But
okay,
so what I did was I'd buy the 1 liter bottles of like the cold green tea that was already brewed. It's like $1, and I would just I stocked up on those, and I just have one of those a day.
Cool. All right, yeah, and then because I was thinking if you're sitting at a coffee shop and that's the temptation, you can get those green tea lattes here, which they put some sugar and stuff in there. But
and I'm actually allergic to milk, so I can't.
Oh, you are. So I mean, you could get it without the milk, but if you're just like I'm in a coffee shop, I feel like I want something. You can get that, and I like the iced green tea latte things are pretty dang good.
And some of them, actually, there's a lot of matcha green tea here, which I really appreciate because that's really hard to find in the States.
I've actually been having a little problem. I just want to find like a bag of it at the grocery store, but all they have is like the cut up green tea leaves. Not like the actual powder. Russell is starting to sell matcha.
Has he actually selling it? Yeah, I told him like
I want some. Did you say that too?
I told him, tell me when you're actually going to sell it because I want to buy some. It's one of those things that's hard to find.
When you do an order, let me know. I'll get in on it or whatever.
Sounds good because shipping.
We're both here. And shipping out of China is so amazing anyway. It's so cheap.
Yeah, I bought posture straps from Hong Kong, and it was like $2 and free shipping.
I remember seeing your post about that.
So I got them from Hong Kong, and they're pretty good. It's kind of weird to wear them.
You can do, like, it took me a while to figure this out, but once I figured out that on eBay, you can check a box that says free international
that's what you told me. That's how I found them.
It's great.
It's great. It's really
because what I've heard is China subsidizes.
That's how I got this, too. I got it from Hong Kong. This Blue Yeti we're talking into right now.
Cool.
Yeah.
Supposedly the government subsidizes the postal system, so like it's cheaper than it really is. It seems cheaper than it should be, right? So the sellers there will do free shipping because it's so cheap. They don't really care. And I mean, I've bought things that were like $4 with free shipping from China to Thailand. Yeah,
that's what I was saying. Is the posture straps? It was less than $5 and free shipping. I was like, how the crap do they do this? How do they produce it and ship it for that?
I got this expansion battery thing for my phone because it was 2:00 every day. It was going out on me. And so I got this thing that was like almost 3 times the capacity battery wise, and the little case that clipped onto the back of my phone so that it, now it can last like almost a couple days.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And I mean, if I use it normally during the day and then go to sleep at night and forget to charge it and I wake up in the morning, it's still working. And it was like $9 free shipping from China. So
that's insanity.
Yeah,
because one of the things that I find sometimes a bit frustrating is that there are some things which are really streamlined in the States, like Amazon 2-day shipping and blah, blah, blah. There's like so many things you can buy and like immediately have it. Whereas if you're living in like Thailand or other places in Southeast Asia, sometimes it's a little bit tricky to get things, at least with the same level of convenience. And actually what happened in the Philippines is that anything that you bought almost always had to be shipped in from another country, and the customs charges would be about equal to the cost of the thing plus shipping. So if you bought some like $100 worth of something, then you'd end up having to pay like at least $200. And it's just like, it's so hard to pay that.
I haven't had a single customs charge. I've just been buying little trinkety stuff that I can't find here, like nothing over $20 or $25.
Okay.
Customs has never charged me a dime on
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So I in Thailand specifically, I've had it both ways, and it's because I like to buy things off iHerb.com for supplements, just for health stuff, and just I don't know. I like health stuff, and so what I found is that they restrict that website restricts your orders to under $80 and 4 pounds because of customs. But what I found is that when I stayed at one place for a long time and I kept like once a month shipping in orders like that, then eventually customs started charging me. But then as soon as I moved, they stopped charging me again. And I was getting, it was the same size orders, everything was the same website. It's like they were tracking it and they caught on based on the fact that it was always going to the same place. And they're like, oh no, you're probably trying to sell it, so we're going to charge you customs.
And you're trying to come in just under the value that we would charge a tax on, but you're doing it all the time.
Yeah, or something like that, because you actually can't. The website doesn't even let you order more than that. It's a restriction. So, but yeah, anyways, long tangent. But so what was the transition to focusing going from real estate to focusing on personal development? Was that an interest you always had?
It was a slow thing, and it was like a hobby at first. So I was actually like the moment where the idea popped up was I was flying to Dubai, and I was reading a Zig Ziglar book. It was a long flight from maybe New York or something.
Are his books good? Because I've seen so many good quotes by him. I'm never sure.
His stuff's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, his books are good. If you're curious just to like get a feel for what he's like, just check him out on YouTube first. And but yeah, his stuff's great. And he was talking about which is like what you talk about a lot, which is, how can you make your vacation your vocation? Like if you can find something that you love to do, it won't feel like work, life will just be easy, you'll achieve more, you'll be better at it and all that. And so the question in the book was, what's that for you? And so it got me thinking, and I'm on this long flight, and I bust out my pen and paper and like, what's my thing? What would I just love to do? And, I would do it for free, but I could also get paid for doing it, and I thought personal development is something I'm into. I choose to read it in my spare time. I'm on vacation right now reading the Zig Ziglar book. I love that stuff. So that went on the little list. And then travel went on the list because I was going to Dubai just for the heck of it. I just wanted to check it out. And I'm like, man, is there a way I could kind of combine those things? And then I thought, well, what I could do is a website, which I can be anywhere, and I can do a personal development site. You're drinking your green tea.
Yes, this is what I was talking about.
Yeah. So, and no sugar, good man,
Yeah.
So I thought, if I could do something online related to personal development, then I could also travel, and I could even work if I'm traveling and all that, which is, now what I'm doing.
So just to interject really quickly is that I remember doing the same kind of brainstorming, and I had the interests of like health and personal development, but then I had this immediate mental response to that internally, that those are so like crowded in terms of the markets. So as you were thinking about getting into something personal development related, how did you think did that occur to you? Or
and this is so cliche to say, but that's a really good question. But it is, because in business, I think it's really valuable to think about what's your differentiator.
Yeah.
Do you want to be like, the last business I would ever want to do is a restaurant, because everybody does them because they think they're fun. That's just like, oh, I like cooking, let's start a restaurant.
Yeah, like you too.
And if I was going to start a restaurant, it would be, I would have some kind of gimmick, some kind of theme or something. I don't know what, but it would be something different.
If you want to start a restaurant in Chiang Mai, have one that's open late and it's not street food, because there are very few.
True, that's definitely true. So what's your differentiator? And what I was thinking is, okay, so where's the opportunity? I like personal development. Is there a need that's not being served, right? It's that classic entrepreneur thing, like how are you going to make the world better? What's needed that isn't being offered? And what I saw was a lot of blogs and a lot of people making videos and podcasts and things about personal development with information, but not a whole lot of things connecting people that were interested in it. So I decided to make this community site, like a social network. That term's overused, but I made a community site for personal development, so people that were into it could hang out and talk about it, share things, form little groups around certain topics, and there wasn't really anything.
So Facebook for personal development?
Basically, yeah, basically, and and that's what positiveatmosphere.com is.
Yeah.
So that's how I got started in there, and then that led to other things. Somebody who was a member of Positive Atmosphere was somebody that we had a conversation that sparked the idea for Better Me, because we were talking about how there was no personal development board game, and how weird that was, because there's a bazillion books, so many CD sets, and now it's all online, MP3 downloads, ebooks, whatever. And
they usually give you things to do, like they give you activities or exercise or reflections or worksheets, but then...
And you're holding yourself accountable. Right? So that's, a lot of times they've got great information, but it's not ideal. It's like if you
not super actionable.
Yeah, and the other thing is too, if you want to learn how to swim, you don't just go read a book about swimming that tells you to go jump in the pool and shows you a diagram or whatever. You get a coach, you get a swim team, or baseball or basketball or whatever. Get on a team, go to practice, play in games, learn from people who are better than you at certain things. So that's why I formed up Positive Atmosphere. And that's also what Better Me has been good for, is getting people together who are on that same wavelength. It's like going to baseball practice for personal development.
Do you ever get people who go to your website, positiveatmosphere.com, and wonder if it's a anti-pollution website?
I never thought of that. Nobody's ever told me that.
Sorry.
Did you wonder that?
No, I was just thinking about that. I was like, that makes me kind of... I was just thinking about how I would interpret that name if you just told me, I created positiveatmosphere.com, and then what would I think? Would I immediately think personal development?
Like ionosphere?
We're
charged.
We're global warming. But yeah, so no, I totally understand where the name comes from. I was just thinking it could go either way. But so if you ever want to split over into some environmental stuff,
try to sell the URL.
So who do you look up to? Since you've read lots of books about personal development, you're really into it. Who are the people that really inspire you?
There's the famous people, and then there's the people around me. So the famous people that inspire me, some of the first people that pop into my mind, Richard Branson's one, because I like his sort of the ready, fire, aim thing. Like, let's try it.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens.
I also appreciate how he's like so famous, but then like you'll see pictures of him pop up where he's just like, I'm going to Halloween as a like in drag as one of my stewardesses or whatever. It's like
totally.
It's like I really don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like it's whatever. I'm just gonna live my life.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, he seems like he's having fun and he's willing to try things instead of that what do they call it? Analysis paralysis. He doesn't have that problem.
Yeah,
he'll just try it. Like what I heard, the story in one of his biographies about him getting into the airline thing, the light bulb went on one day when he's flying to somewhere, I think in the Virgin Islands. And he basically had a hot date and he was getting on a plane to go meet some girl down on some island. And something was screwed up. The flight was either canceled or delayed. And he didn't want to be delayed. So he walked around the airport and found some guys that do charter flights and said, how much to this place? And they said X amount. And he's like, okay, and how many seats is that? I think it was like 20 or something maybe. That's sort of a guess. And then, so he said, okay, I'll take it. So he booked a charter flight and it was going to leave, like, I don't know, he had some amount of time before the flight. So then he went back to the gate where everybody else on his flight was all pissed off. Yeah, and he's like, hey, you guys, I got a different plane that's going there and it's this much, and like, I think he made some money, or he's broke even or something, and he was like, that wasn't too hard to sell some airplane tickets. And the thing that I didn't realize for a long time about the airline industry, they lease the planes, They don't like buy them. You don't need to have $1 billion to start an airline.
I also heard that he had some kind of deal where if with the providers of his the planes for his airline, the deal was that if his airline failed or did not succeed, that he would be able to give back and like just like mitigate all loss. Like there was no sunk cost into the hardware, right?
So yeah, he's smart guy. You limit the risk however you can, and then give it a shot, right? Because you're never going to know until.
Because it sounds like a super risky thing to start an airline, right?
Yeah, you would think, right? Yeah, but I mean. So
Richard Branson.
Richard Branson's one. In some ways, Warren Buffett.
Okay. Yeah.
Giving away a lot of money.
Seems very humble too.
Yeah, and very common sense. He likes to break things down to fundamentals, which I'm a fan of that. He can tell you like his. I mean, of course, he's a very smart guy that knows a lot of technical stuff too about his work.
Yeah.
But he can relate information to people in a way that they can understand it.
Yeah.
Like, here, if you're going to invest, you need to look at these fundamentals. Like, is there a moat around the business? Is it defensible? Like his stuff's so
literally, is there literally a moat?
Yeah. So he's into Coke because their recipe is their recipe and nobody can do it exactly like them. He's like, yeah, they have a moat. And things that he can understand. So like he can understand Coke, he can understand Fruit of the Loom underwear. He does like modular housing stuff. These are things he's actually in. Management team is like super crucial. Like if he understands it and they have a moat, but he doesn't believe in the management team, it's a no-go. So like, but he can tell and he shares his wisdom with people. Like here are the fundamental things to look for. So
does he like? I've never actually seen a breakdown of his exact methodology. Has he written a book that you know of?
Well, that's a good question. I bet he has, but I know a lot of other people have written books like about his methodology, like how he operates and stuff. He was doing pinball machines in barbershops when he was real young.
Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. So he's a cool guy. So Branson, Buffett.
Any more that starts with a B?
Nah, a lot of athletes. I find their stories interesting. I like reading biographies. So actually, you know what? To really answer your question, I would say I try not to put people up on a pedestal. Like there's some people have talent in certain areas. They have more gifts. Maybe athletically, or they're better with doing math in their head, or they have certain things. But everybody's also got their weaknesses and their struggles along the way to success. You don't usually hear about all that.
Yeah,
you hear about them once they're successful.
Is that why you like biographies? Is you can see actually from start to finish.
Right, and see what that does for me is like if I read like Mickey Mantle's biography, it stuck with me because he was at a point where he almost quit baseball. Future Hall of Famer, discouraged, thinking about quitting baseball. I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Cool. So, if you're in that position, so was Mickey Mantle.
Yeah.
So don't feel too bad. Just keep plugging away, right?
Yeah. I think everybody's been there.
Yeah. I mean, Derek Jeter's another one, spent a lot of time in the minor leagues. Like he didn't just have to take the escalator to success, you know? I mean, nobody does.
I read a really good book about this. I read too many books. I forget which one it was. But it was something about like if people become immediately very, very successful at a young age, like you hear a lot of stories about people who start really crazy successful companies when they're very young or whatever. But actually a lot of times if you get that kind of instant success, one, in reality it's actually not instant. It just appears that way in the story. Or or two, there's some kind of downside to it. Like they get that instant success, but then there's a very quick, like shortly thereafter, there's some kind of downfall based on the fact that they became successful really early, and then it like goes to their head, or they make a mistake, and then they like screw a bunch of stuff up, and then they have to work their way back up. And it went through all these stories of how that happens. I found that profoundly fascinating.
Yeah.
Because it's really easy to be like, oh, I haven't, or like you can compare yourself to the stories of people who, like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, like, oh, I didn't start a company that was that awesome when I was in college or whatever. But in reality, there's a million stories more about people working their way up into something great over time and overcoming challenges.
They didn't hit it until their 40s or their 50s.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally true.
Yeah.
Oh boy, I had a thought come and go. What was it? You mentioned Zuckerberg. I lost a good one.
No worries. Yeah. Sounds good.
But biographies and knowing the details of these people that you kind of put up on the pedestal and think their life was perfect and easy.
Yeah.
I think that's really inspiring because you realize like, okay, if they could do it, maybe I could do something great.
Yeah, and you can even see how like even they might have done something great, but they still screwed a bunch of stuff up, and you can even learn from their failures. Like I'm a big fan of sort of contrarian role models, so people who basically they show you what not to do.
Yeah.
Like that's actually one of the best things to learn from.
And some people are both.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you want to be a bodybuilder, listen to Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
You want to be in a monogamous marriage, not to pick on him, but don't.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of guy, like he'll tell you, I'm not perfect, don't try to do everything I do, but hey, you can learn a lot from him about certain things, and everybody's like that, there's something you can learn from everybody, and then there's certain things that, if you want relationship advice, listen to somebody who's in the position you want to be in, not the guy that's been divorced 3 times. Yeah,
absolutely. Actually, one that comes to mind that falls into that category would be Steve Jobs. He did a lot of things great, but he also totally screwed up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And
great at sales, selling vision, design, really strong.
Yeah.
But even alienated a ton of people in his own organization.
Yeah.
Got booted out of his own organization, had to come back.
I think that was actually one of the stories that they gave about somebody who was extremely successful early, and then in some ways that led to his downfall. Like that he rose early, but then screwed a bunch of stuff up midway through, and then had to sort of reboot and restart and work his way up from the beginning again.
You know who's an interesting one? If you like sports, if you like football, especially American football, Tom Brady. There's some things on YouTube, like documentaries about him. I can't remember what number, but he was a really low draft pick to the NFL, and he didn't like it, pissed him off. I mean, he got picked after plenty of people that he thought he was better than. And in college, it was the same. He was the backup at Michigan, and I forget all the details, but he's
Sounds like ego.
Yeah, well,
like we said.
It's true. He always felt like he was underrated, and Tom Brady's going to go down as one of the greatest quarterbacks in NFL history. I mean, he's got.
I'll take your word for that. I'm
not
very knowledgeable about sports.
As far like Dynasty, the Patriots, Super Bowl rings, like they've done it now. But if you go back to the early part of his career, like nobody believed in the guy, and he was always second string, and getting drafted low, but he just kept going, and like fueled. He never quit, never let their opinion of him be his own opinion of himself.
Yeah. There's a really good. I forget who said it, but it's basically if you continually always do the right things and for the right reasons, you'll inevitably succeed. Doesn't matter what your challenges are. Doesn't matter what other people think of you. Just kind of keep plugging away and doing the right things. Yeah. It's literally inevitable.
And you say you will succeed. So I think the other thing that I think I wrote it down here. I wanted to mention
what does success means to you.
Right.
Yeah, it's a good. Yeah.
And what is your definition of success?
What is your definition of success?
Let's see. Can I put it in the note? Let me finish my thought real quick.
Okay, sorry,
I'll totally forget. So. What's your definition of success? And not only that, but how did you get that definition? Like, is it actually yours, or did watching too many commercials put it there, or did your parents put it there, or did your friends put it there? Do you want a Bentley? Why?
Yeah.
I personally, if somebody said, here's the keys to my Bentley, you want to take it on a test drive? I'd say sure. But am I going to work my ass off for years to buy one? No. That wouldn't fuel my fire, because I don't really care if I have a Bentley or not. Mm-hmm. Some people might. But why? And because who was it? Stephen Covey, I think, who knows who said it first, but as you're climbing the ladder to success, you want to make sure it's leaning on the right wall, because it's a bummer to get to the top and go, oh, damn, this isn't really where I wanted to be.
Yeah,
I thought it was for some reason. Tony Robbins always talks about people think they want a certain house, or maybe a certain spouse, or a certain car, or a job title, and then what they're really shooting for, they don't really maybe realize it, but they're looking for some kind of state. Like they're
Yeah.
looking for, maybe they want the job title because there's an increase in pay and they'll feel secure.
Yeah, significant security, right?
Or their dad will be proud of them, or whatever it actually is. Like try to get.
And that's what actually matters, right?
Yeah,
it's not
like,
that's just the means.
Inclusion, or like that sense of community and belonging, or whatever it really is. You know, it might be security. Like if a lot of people that grow up poor, you know, they go after money because they want to feel secure. They don't want to not eat dinner anymore. You know, they don't want to wonder if they're going to be able to make rent the next month or if they're going to be homeless, and that fuels them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, what is your definition of success? Where are you going, and why, right? So, like, make sure that your ladder is on the right wall, you know. And there's nothing. You don't have to try to be like Warren Buffett, you know. Yeah. You don't have to try to be Steve Jobs. There are a few people out there that want to be the next Steve Jobs, and they're actually working at it. Mm-hmm. But some people just want to have like 2 healthy and happy kids, and you know, have time for hobbies. Mm-hmm. They like to golf, whatever. Cool. If that's your definition of success, figure that out, and then now you can plan how to get there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, what is your definition of success?
I had a guy tell me one time. It really hit me. He goes, think about less what you want exactly, and think more about the qualities you want your life to have. Mm-hmm. So I really like time to learn. And I like variety. Like if I'm curious about something, I want to be able to spend some time looking into it, you know? So what that means to me is I don't want a super packed schedule every day, because I like to like go try things, or like maybe I'm going to go get better at archery, or I'm going to go read about some topic I've never heard about before, you know, listen to some interesting podcasts or whatever. So variety, learning, freedom is a big one to me. You know, I don't want to be tied to a place. I like to be able to go, you know what, I want to go to Europe next summer or whatever, so I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why I sold my flea market, because that was kind of my anchor.
Yeah.
And so that's success to me, is like the state.
Can you say that in a sentence?
So I guess it's the state of like being happy and free, and then I also like sharing and being around other people, like helping to make other people happy and free, and like doing things like this. Hopefully somebody listening is going to get something out of it, right? Mm-hmm. So I mean, I have a little, like, my life's mission is to be happy and free and share. So that's it right there.
So your need
to answer your question,
yes.
Finally,
okay,
it's to be happy and free and share.
So your needs would be, I guess, connection, variety, and maybe another one thrown in there.
Yeah, learning.
Yeah, growth. Yeah, connection,
like
variety, growth. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And so sometimes it's trying a new sport. Sometimes it's reading a book about something I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
You know.
This really resonates with me, because I've recently done some work on this exact topic, because I realized I was sort of operating under the wrong framework and the wrong perspective of success. Mm-hmm. And I had this concept. It was really well stated. I think it was actually Tony Robbins. I was listening to something or reading something, and he was talking about how you can define success as this like attainable thing that is somewhere in the future. But the problem with that is it's usually not the right thing.
Yeah.
It's usually just a thing, and it's not really what causes you to feel success, right? It's just a thing. It's a milestone, maybe. The problem with that is you get to that milestone, and then you just set another milestone, and you never actually feel successful.
Yeah.
And so he was talking about how you can like define success as something you've already attained. And so actually I sat and thought about that for a very long time, because I was very much in that category. It's like, and like by some people's standards, I would be successful, right? You would be successful, but then it's very easy to set standards for yourself. Yeah. It's like, no, I'll be successful when this. And then you get there. And then,
I do that too.
Yeah. Okay. And so what I did was I redefined, and I've actually, I pulled this up on my phone while we were talking. I tried to create a list of beliefs new beliefs I want to replace counterproductive beliefs with. So for example, replacing that weird concept of success that I would probably never be able to attain, and to always feel dissatisfied because I was never attaining it. Instead, I wrote down, I believe success means being free to grow every day, and being able to spend at least 1 hour every day on a project that truly matters to me. Mm-hmm. And so it's very much along the lines of what you're saying, is that as long as you're free to grow and improve and develop as a person, that's something that's really, really important to me. And I find if I'm always hustling to get to that previous definition of quote unquote success, right, whether that's financially or whatever, I find I'm actually much less happier than if I just take a couple hours a day to do what you're saying, like try something new, read a book, and then that makes me feel good, and I can have that be my definition of success, and actually it'll probably help me better get to that other definition that I had, right?
You're probably you'll attract people that will make you a more interesting person, you know? I think people will want to chit chat with you, and
I think people oftentimes undervalue investing in learning. Learning, growing, and being exposed to really great ideas, like it's truly profoundly helpful and helps you do everything else.
Yeah.
So it's worthwhile investment.
Stephen Covey had his 4 quadrants of to-dos. Basically, you've got important and urgent, and then you've got important but not urgent, which is what you're talking about, and that's the one that most often gets overlooked. It's important, but it's not urgent, like learning.
Yeah, it's like a gradual, continual process.
Yeah, maybe you're letting your health slide, but it doesn't
until you have a heart
urgent.
attack,
right?
Then it's urgent.
Yeah, then it goes into quadrant 1.
Yeah,
and then let me think. So quadrant 2 is important but not urgent. Quadrant 3 is the most abused one, which is urgent but not important. That's like phone calls when you don't even know who it is calling.
Yeah.
Oh wait, I got to take this.
Yeah.
No, you don't. Like that's what voicemail's for. That's what email's for. So that's the one that people usually do too much of the 3rd quadrant there, where they're putting out all the fires and taking phone calls they shouldn't take, responding to stupid emails or whatever, when they're overlooking their health or their learning. They spend an hour making sure all the spam is out of their email inbox instead of reading a book or something.
I don't know what quadrant this would be, or if it actually is maybe a different kind of way of looking at it. I saw Agent Efficiency. There was like a newsletter, blog post that came out. I haven't actually had a chance to read it, but I was like, oh my God, I need to read this, because this is the exact problem I have. Is like something that's really important and you have to do, but it's just like something that doesn't really matter, or like it's important, but you have no interest in doing it. You will get nothing out of doing it. But it's just like a box to check on the way to doing important things. So for example, like filing your taxes. Like I was
thinking of taxes before you said it.
Yeah, like perfect example. I hate crap like that. If the U.S. government sent me an invoice for like how much I owe them, I'd be like, cool, click, pay. I have no problem with that. But like taking the time to figure out the complexity of digital nomad taxes and actually paying it and like going through that process is like annoying, and I don't want to do it. But it's something you have to do, right? So I that's the biggest category for me that I struggle with, is like finding the motivation to do something like that when it's like it just feels not important. Like it's just a barrier to doing things which feel important,
Right. Yeah, it's true. You can extend them too.
Really?
Yep. You can extend taxes 6 months, no questions asked. You can just do it. You just file a piece of paper that says I'm extending. So the magic tax day is actually, like, I always do mine in October.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you have to submit the extension before April 15th?
Okay. And if you don't, who knows what actually happens.
Yeah.
Usually the consequences aren't as bad as people think.
Yeah.
Like if you're late on your taxes, on paying them, there's going to be some interest and a little penalty. It's not that bad.
Really?
It's just not. Yeah. It's like low. I haven't looked at it in a while, and I'm not an accountant, but when my accountant explained it to me years ago, I asked him things like, what happens? Okay, everybody's scared of getting audited. That's like the boogeyman, right?
Yeah.
So what is an audit? Have you been?
Yeah, actually, I was going to ask you. I'm not really sure what an audit actually is.
Well, and then so an audit basically means, and there's different kinds of audits, like the state might audit you, the feds might audit you, the IRS. So an audit means basically, to me, the layman's terms is they come and look at your books and they see if it's right. And if they disagree with you, you might have to try to like state your case. Well, here's why this makes sense. Like I see you said that your car was 90% for business. Is that true? Well, okay, let's go with 70% or something like that.
Okay.
Or you might say, yeah, it is 90%. And then if they disagree with you, they're going to say, well, we're only going to say that 70% of your miles were for business, because we see that you're doing all this other stuff, whatever. So basically, you should have paid a little more in taxes than what you did, because you wrote off too much, right?
Yeah.
So
is there like some kind of penalty if you?
Yeah. Well, okay. So that's what they're going to do. They're going to go, okay, well, this was a couple years ago, because they have, I think it's like 7 years to audit you or whatever.
Oh, really?
So maybe it was a couple years ago, and they go, okay, look, you should have paid $1,000 more in taxes than you actually did, because you're acting like all this gas and oil changes and stuff was a business expense, and we disagree. So you owe us $1,000. And you owe us back when my accountant was telling me about it, it was like 3 or 4% interest on that. So it's like
annually?
$40 a year. Yeah.
Okay.
So instead of paying the $1,000 2 years ago, now you owe us like $1,080.
Yeah.
With the interest and maybe a little penalty of X percent or something. So you should have paid $1,000 2 years ago. You owe us $1,100 now or something.
Cool.
And I'm sure there's much.
It's not that bad.
And again, I'm not your accountant, but it's not that bad. And so basically. in my opinion, the IRS has everybody so scared that most people probably pay more in taxes than they should if they're running a business. I mean, the whole how you handle business stuff can be like, more creative than if you're just earning a wage. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
But, if you fly somewhere and you have a business meeting there, the question is like, okay, I had a business meeting one day, but then I spent 2 more days hanging out on the beach. Is that a business trip or what? Is it, is it 50% business trip? Is it 90% business trip? Is it 0 because I feel guilty? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's all this, everybody handles it in a different way. I'm pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
In my account. So going back, this was like my first year actually working with the CPA where I had any amount of money that mattered, right? I actually had to think about this for like the first time ever.
Yeah.
And I had something that wasn't just like wage slips from my employer. And so I said, okay, so what do you think? Business miles, how does that work? And he's like, well, did you actually write them down? Do you actually know exactly how many were business? And I said, no, of course not. Nobody does that. Some people actually do that, but not many. And he's like, okay, well, percentage wise, what was it? You tell me, and
I feel like all these numbers are like totally made up though.
A lot of them are, man.
That's I don't understand is even if you do get so first off, I know it's like a very small percentage of people would actually get audited. And then 2, like how do they know what your trip was?
Okay, so for example, say that I said my business miles were like 80%, or my miles on my vehicle were 80% business.
Yeah.
Which in real estate, that's probably realistic.
Yeah.
That's probably very realistic because you're driving all over the place with people showing them houses, and then at the end of the night, you just drive home from the office, right? Or go to.
But if you took a road trip, how would anybody know? Like, how would the IRS be able to verify that?
Good question.
Even if they audit you.
I mean, besides the fact that the NSA is tracking your smartphone.
Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, but basically, I'm not an accountant, but if you said it was 80% business miles and you did get audited, there might be something that like makes them want to audit you. It's probably not going to be 80% business miles.
Yeah.
Everybody I know does that in real estate. So they might say like, oh, by the way, we think you're not really doing that many business miles. Can we see your log? Like you're supposed to write it down, record it, right? And you go, oh, I didn't actually write it down, or I lost my log, or whatever. Then, you probably have a weak case, and they're like, oh, we'll give you 50% business miles,
Okay, so basically, you make up a number, you probably don't keep track of it, and then they come back and make up a different number, and it's all very arbitrary. That's what it sounds like.
And I've actually never been through an IRS audit, but that's the general idea that I got from my accountant when I asked him.
Okay, well, this makes taxes sound like pretty much as much bullshit as they come across sometimes. In terms of
the
self-employment
runs it. So
I'm just like in terms of accuracy when you're self-employed, it just seems wildly inaccurate and arbitrary, and people pay such different amounts. It just seems really odd and
home office is another weird one. Like that might apply to your taxes. So, and again, this stuff changes all the time. Different tax years, they write different rules and stuff. But when I was in real estate, if you have a home office, which I did, you're literally like, okay, my house is, 2,000 square feet or something. My office, just to make the numbers easy, is 200 square feet of that. So 10% of my house is, office space. And then, so you can write some of your housing expenses off and, utility bills and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Your cell phone, all kinds of stuff. But anyway, I don't know how we got on taxes.
Yeah, we've actually covered a wide variety of topics. It's really interesting. So actually, let me ask you the handful of questions I told you I'd ask at the beginning.
To finish that thought,
Yeah.
I'm not trying to give anybody specific tax advice.
Yeah.
The takeaway I got from that conversation with my accountant is most people are probably more scared of the IRS than they really should be.
Okay.
It's not so much of a boogeyman. It's like you can go read the rules, interpret them the way that you think makes sense. They may or may not agree with you if you get audited, but you're probably not going to get audited.
And if you are wrong, it's not that big of a deal.
Well, it's different than like flat out lying, right?
Yeah.
You do
your best.
I don't actually own that car.
Yeah.
But I claimed that I did for business expenses. Yeah, right. So as long as you're just saying like this makes sense to me, I'm being, I was kind of aggressive personally. It's like we're kind of a lot of things just work because people are scared of it.
Yeah, that's true.
If everybody on the same day said,
it's scary and confusing, right?
Yeah. Imagine if every American just didn't file their taxes one April. Isn't it April? And what are they going to do about that? There's not enough agents. What are they going to do about that, right?
Yeah.
But people do it because they're scared.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you shouldn't. Anyway,
asterisks all over this part of this conversation. So I'm curious what your answer to this big question, which I like to ask people, is how would you start over from scratch? So given your knowledge and experience, if you had to start over right now, you get dropped in Thailand or wherever else off a plane, and you don't really have much work to go with in terms of assets or resources. How would you start over?
Okay. So specifically if I was in Thailand with not much money.
Or you can pick a location of your choice. You can
Okay.
hypothetically drop yourself off in India. If you want to travel, this is a good opportunity to hypothetically be in another place. So.
Transporter. So the people listening to this are trying to figure out how to do what they love, right, from wherever. So that's kind of, if I was...
people will be at different points, but...
Yeah. If I was in that position right now, you know what I would probably do? And this might, I don't know exactly when this is going to get posted. I would probably apply to that internship on Copenhagen, down on the island.
Which one's that?
The owner, did you see that? So Charlie, the guy who runs CoSpace on Copenhagen, is setting up 8 interns to do social media internships for 8 different resorts down there.
Oh, interesting.
And you'll get free room and board. You work 3 hours a day, 6 days a week. So it's from 9 to 12.
Yeah.
You all work in the CoSpace together. And you do social media for wherever you're staying, for your place. And everybody's like sharing tips and
So more generally, you would recommend some kind of internship or...
Yeah, okay. So more generally, I would recommend, as far as business stuff goes, get around people that know what they're talking about and find a way to be around them a lot.
Okay.
And if that's an internship, cool. If you're volunteering your time, or if you're working in an organization just because you want to be around other people in that organization. Like when I was in real estate, my friend asked me, because he was getting into real estate right around the time I got out, and he's like, what advice do you have? You were in it for 10 years, I'm brand new, what do you think? And I said, the number one thing I would recommend is go and buddy up with somebody with experience that's kicking ass, and find a way to be helpful to them, like get on their team if you can, or there are little chores that no realtor really enjoys, like competitive market analysis. You have to find the closest, most similar
That
houses.
just sounds fun.
Yeah, you find the most similar houses you can to a particular house, and you look at what they sold for, and what 3 that have sold, and 3 what they're asking for. It's just like boring work, spreadsheet type stuff. Do that for people who are experienced. You'll learn the market. You'll see how they think. Go with them when they do their listing presentation. Anything you can do to buddy up with someone who's successful. And so in whatever field that you're entering, that's a really good way to learn really quick. Mm-hmm. Literally, like if you're just holding their briefcase, just try to be in the room.
Yeah.
Get them coffee, whatever.
Yeah, I actually had a brief internship as well, and it was less about learning from a specific person or a specific business, but it was still a really good opportunity to sort of transition into the kind of work that you want to do. Like it's an internship or a part-time position, or maybe even a permanent position that you stay in for 6 months to learn, to practice some skill, or to transition out of what you're currently doing into whatever you're trying to do. It can be really beneficial just to break you out of your current lifestyle and work and try something new.
Yeah, and to give you a better answer, I'm thinking while you're talking too, I would figure out where I want my ladder leaning, like what's my definition of success, mm-hmm. and then probably look for what specialized knowledge can get me there, because that accelerates you big time. Instead of being the guy doing oil changes, be the guy that knows how computers on Jaguars work, and put your ladder on the right wall and go get that specialized information. An internship is one really good way to do that. Nowadays, a Udemy course might be a way to do that.
Yeah.
YouTube stuff that's out there for free might be a good way to do that. But I've seen a lot of people really learn a lot really quickly by buddying up and being useful to people that know more than that.
Yeah, there's really good books I've seen written about that, where it's like just volunteer free work for somebody you respect.
It's basically, it's like a different model than college. In college, you pay to have somebody tell you how to do stuff.
Yeah.
In an internship, or whatever you want to call it, apprenticeship was the old word for it, you're volunteering your time. They're not charging you anything. They might even be paying you something.
Yeah.
And you just get to work alongside someone really successful, which to me is more interesting than like listening to a lecture from somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Even if that person has been successful, I'd rather work with the professor than sit there and listen to a professor's lecture.
Exactly.
If he's lecturing in chemistry, like I'd rather be in the lab with him.
Yeah.
That's where you really
learn.
You
do what they do instead of do what they say, right?
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest obstacle that you think stops people from succeeding in things that really matter to them? And has there been a time where you came up against a really big obstacle in your own life that you overcame in a particular way?
Let me think on that. The things that come to mind as far as obstacles, fear, and then lack of persistence. Mm-hmm. Those are the 2 things I've seen the most screw people up. And so fear a lot of times make people, they don't even get started on whatever it is they want to do. In my own life, that was taking 10 years to just say, forget real estate, forget the flea market, let's go to Thailand, because it sounds fun and I want to do that.
Yeah.
And I eventually did it, which is better than never doing it. But I can't remember even what year it was, but it was several years before I did it. I wrote on my annual goals to move to Copenhagen, the island that we just mentioned where the internship is.
Yeah.
And I just kind of found, logical reasons not to do it. Like, well, I'm starting to do well in real estate. Do I really want to give up all this money to go down there and just have that lifestyle? Or should I just stick with what I'm doing and go there a month every winter, And so it was like kind of the inertia of what I was doing and, helping clients and, I was comfortable. It wasn't risky.
I think being comfortable is one of the biggest, most scary positions to be in, because then you lack any urgency to do much of anything that's outside of that comfort zone.
Yeah, it's true. And then I bought some properties, which is like, well, can you really move to the other side of the world and still have properties? How do you manage them? Managed to figure that out. I have somebody really awesome overlooking a sixplex that I still own and a house, and it's handled. So,
did you make up that word, sixplex?
No, it's a real thing. 6-unit apartment building, whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Yeah, multiplex. So fear and not getting started. And I think one thing is that a lot of people they think they need to see the whole path when they start.
Yeah.
But a quote I really like is that you can't always see the mountaintop from the valley, but that doesn't mean you can't get there.
Yeah.
There's a way there, and maybe you don't know exactly what it is, but if you just start going, you might see a sign with an arrow, or you might meet a guy who's going the same way you want to go.
You'll always be able to see the next 10 feet.
Oh, this guy's selling a map. It's only $10, but in the real world, that's how it is. Like, maybe you want to be an online, location independent person. Like, okay, can you find a way to just get yourself to Chiang Mai or Saigon or maybe San Francisco or wherever there are a lot of people doing that? Barcelona, maybe Berlin, places like that, Austin. Get there, and you'll probably meet somebody who is willing to help you, and you'll meet people who are kind of where you are, which is cool because you can bounce ideas off each other, and then hopefully there'll be some people who are much further along than you, and a lot of those people are really open with information because they had somebody help them, and now they're giving back, So
yeah, absolutely. Whenever I try and set goals, I do it in 2 steps. So what's the ultimate sort of vision of what I'm working towards? And it's usually relatively general. It's just sort of a general kind of picture that inspires me. That's very long term. And I think about the immediate next steps, which work in that direction. I don't worry about a year from now. I worry about 2 weeks from now, and then also that general picture and if I'm going in the right general direction for it.
Right.
Because you can't really see, you were saying, you were trying to plan to come to Thailand and go back, but then things change. You stayed here.
Yeah.
And so that's the problem with trying to map out every single step, right? You can only really see the next couple steps and the general picture that you're working
totally agree. I think of a lot of people try to play life like it's chess. Once in a while, maybe it works out like that, but usually it's like dodgeball. Somebody throws a ball at your head, you either duck or you try to catch it, and then or you get hit in the nose once in a while. You pick up a ball over here, and one rolls up to your feet, and you're just kind of. Things are always changing. You can't always predict 10 steps ahead. You can have an idea where you're going, but there's something to be said for the whole persistence and having clarity and here's exactly where I'm going and all that. But along the way, there's something called the corridor effect. You ever heard of that?
Mm-mm.
I like it. So if you're at the end of a corridor and you're looking down towards the other end and you see that door, that's your goal. My goal is to walk down there and go through that door, whatever that is for you, right? And then, but while you're walking down that corridor, you come to an intersection where there's hallways that go off to the right and left that you didn't even know they were there when you were at the end of the hall, right?
Yeah.
And so now you have a new perspective and there's new opportunities. I could go left. There's a different type of door. It goes to a different room down there. There's a drinking fountain off to the right, or there's a bathroom over there. Whatever, the scene changes as you move forward. So you might see new opportunities. You might run into people who can help you out that you never would have met if you didn't just start going towards that door in the first place.
Yeah.
So that fear and feeling like you have to plan the whole thing out, you don't.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of cheesy quotes, obviously. So you don't have to wait till all the lights are green to leave the house, right? Just go.
Yeah.
So
have you created any cheesy quotes of your own?
Probably. I'm sure I have.
Well, maybe you should try and remember one before we sign off here, so you can leave listeners informed.
Okay, cool. Or if I can't think of one, I'll just steal somebody else's.
Yeah, just say something that sounds profound unless you think about it too much.
Yeah. And then the other, so fear, number one, keeps people from even starting.
Yeah.
Sometimes they quit early if things are a little bit hard, and that's where the biographies come in handy because you see, it was hard even for those guys.
Yeah.
And then persistence. So when you hit that wall, you hit that bump, understanding that, okay, this is what separates the people that get there versus the people that don't. And, sometimes everything's cool and easy and you're just cruising along, and then sometimes it's not for a while. And I think you just need to you don't want to like expect that, but be prepared for that. If it gets tough, be ready to buckle down a little bit, try harder, and go, man, I screwed something up. I need to fix it. I need to learn more, whatever.
Yeah, so this kind of referencing earlier when I was trying to create new beliefs for myself that were more productive. So I mentioned the one I created for success, but I also created sort of a parallel one that was, I believe failures of boldness and action are actually successes. So if you try to do something and it fails, that's actually a success because you tried. And then from there you can learn and move on. And true failure only means failure of inaction because you're afraid or you just whatever, you don't know you're going to succeed, or failing to learn and grow from a situation. So if you try and you fail and you don't learn anything, that's a failure. But if you try, you fail, but then you learn how to keep moving forward, then that's a success.
And there's this weird separation too, where if you spend or invest $100,000 in a master's degree, people are like, that's a massive success.
Yeah.
But if you lose or blow or get swindled out of $10,000 on something, a business you tried to start, then that's what, an embarrassing, shameful failure?
Yeah.
What? How does that work? I had a friend, Eric, he's actually the one who got me to finally commit to selling the flea market. We were in a 2-man mastermind group.
How much does those go for, by the way, if you don't mind sharing?
Flea markets?
Yeah. I've never heard of somebody selling a flea market.
Yeah, well, okay, what I was selling was really just inventory. We were leasing the building on a short-term lease. Okay. So the guy who was my manager, I could tell, he kind of thought he was the boss anyway. He half the time didn't want to listen to me. So I'm like, this guy, I think he would want to own this place. So anyway, I just gave him a price. It was $4,000 for the way it really worked was a bunch of the inventory that was there was mine, and it just stayed there, but now was on consignment. So he was going to sell it for me and pay me later. But what he was buying was the Goodwill, the advertising I'd done, the regular customers that we had, and things like the shelves, the open signs, the wacky wavy inflatable noodle, what I mean? The fan man.
Yeah.
We had one of those, all that kind of stuff. Shelves, counters, the lockbox that we put stuff in, and whatever. So I sold it cheap. I was like, hey, you want this for $4,000? And he's like, yeah, but I only have 2. Okay, let's do 2 now and 2 later. And
buy my plane ticket to Thailand.
Dude, I was gone
first couple months.
I think it was a few weeks. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was done.
Sweet.
Yeah. And again, to plug mastermind groups, even if you don't, I have mastermind groups that you can join and you can pay me to do that. You can also form your own, but they really work because you meet, a lot of them are weekly, some of them are monthly or every other week, but you're holding yourself accountable each week. And part of the format in a good mastermind group is, okay, how did you do on your commitments from last time?
Yeah.
And we wrote it down, so you can't trick us. We remember what you said you were going to do. How'd it go?
And then what are you going to do next week?
Yeah, and you don't want to be the kid that shows up without your homework, basically. Mm-hmm. So get in a mastermind. You can form your own if you want.
So that's a good segue into what are the current projects that you're working on, and what does that look like for the next year?
Sure. Well, since we're on masterminds, I run mastermind groups. They're paid. They're cheap though, really cheap actually compared to a lot of them. And I think you probably know what the pricing is like on some mastermind groups.
Yeah.
you can pay me $60 a month and be in one of my groups. Okay. Or if you want a little bit of a discount, you can pay for 12 weeks up front for $150.
Okay.
So it's cheap.
Yeah.
And I like doing them, and it kind of fires me up. Janie's in one.
Yeah.
She brings a lot of great energy to that, and that group is really good.
Okay.
It's cool. I leave that inspired. And I'm facilitating it. So we're helping people with whatever it is they're working on. We're holding them accountable for what they said last time. The meat and potatoes is we're discussing and helping you with something. Like you might want feedback on something. You might be stuck on a problem. You need ideas and brainstorming around it. So the whole group will support you, and everybody gets their chunk of time on each section. So basically we show up and say, what's new and good? Everybody shares. That's a real short one. How did you do on your commitments from last time? That's a fairly short one because it doesn't really take that long to tell us if you did it or not. Number 3 is what do you need help with? And that's the long one. And then at the end, it's another quick one. What are your commitments for next week? And then the last one is end with gratitude. Nice. What are you grateful for?
And this is a good framework for potentially structuring a mastermind if you start one as well.
I just stole it from Jack Canfield, and he stole it from somebody, I'm sure.
Yeah, actually, and I like that approach. And so one of the masterminds I'm in, the way it is like it's kind of the first steps of like, how did you do since last week? Anything new and interesting? And then we like rotate through like one main person for that mastermind to focus on their business.
Yeah.
But actually, I like some elements of what you just said, so I might suggest some of that to my mastermind.
Yeah, and we do an hour. What do you do?
Yeah, it's about an hour as well.
Yeah, because I found that, if you ask for more time than that, there are some really good people who just don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Like 2 hours, no. But, an hour, and if people see the value in it, they can make an hour.
Exactly.
So
masterminds, what else you got going on?
Mastermind, Better Me Game, which again, you can play it free.
BetterMeGame.com?
BetterMeGame.com. You can print it out. If you want the shiny box version, that's on pre-order right now.
It is very shiny.
Yeah. By the time you're listening to this, maybe it's in stock. So it's a great way to get to know people. What else am I doing? I still have positiveatmosphere.com. I run several Facebook pages.
One of those is like almost like 1 million people or something ridiculous.
Yeah,
right?
it just crossed 850.
Yeah, 850,000 people. Right?
Yeah, we were over 850 before, but then Facebook did this like automatic removal of people who haven't engaged with you in a long time thing. So everybody lost a chunk of their followers, and my assistant was really bummed out. But we got back over 850 again. So yeah, we're on our way to 1 million for sure.
Wow.
That's positive thinking. We post a lot of inspiring quotes, inspiring videos, also just like funny videos, just feel good stuff. So if you want stuff like that in your Facebook feed every day, it's positive thinking. Probably forgetting something, but that's
too many projects.
That's most of it.
Those are good stuff, anyways.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, man. Let's see. What's on your list that we haven't covered?
That was actually the main questions I wanted to cover, and this has been a really thorough interview. I think since we've talked about everything from like goals, fears, taxes, your life story, etc.
There's one thing I'd like to throw in, which is if people are going, okay, you guys have been talking a lot about the foundation and the mindset, and that's cool, but if you're ready, like if somebody's listening to this and they're ready to make a move and they want to, totally switch their life around, they're looking for a new business or whatever, some tactics. One thing I didn't realize maybe a few years ago is if like using Chiang Mai as an example, and it's not the only place, but it's one of the best. I'm single. So if you're single and you have, say, $5,000 US in the bank, you could come over here and that's going to buy you easily 6 months of time, minus your plane ticket, right? You got to buy your plane ticket. If you can come over here with $5,000 in the bank, you've got at least 6 months to work with. And in 6 months, you can figure out a lot. So if you're kind of thinking you want to make a switch, it is very doable to get over here to Asia or somewhere else. I'm sure places in Mexico or whatever, but there's a really strong network of people to learn from here. Mm-hmm. It lasts you a lot longer than you think. Once you get out of the U.S. and you're not just bleeding money on everything from car insurance to phone bills. I mean, I pay $6 a month for my phone here instead of 60 or whatever. My gas for my scooter, when I fill it up, it's like $3.
Yeah. And it's like once a week, so it's like $15 or something tops.
So people call it bootstrapping. This is a great place to bootstrap.
Yeah.
I don't think Saigon is my style, but that's another place people do it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and then there's other places where you'll have maybe less network, but it could be very cheap, like Mexico or Panama, places like that.
Yeah, and the thing about some of these places is that cheap doesn't mean shitty. Like
that's right.
There's some of these places that are cheap, and I think Chiang Mai is a really good example of this. Is like you live a really great lifestyle, and you're paying maybe a fourth of what you'd be paying for the exact same lifestyle in some other places. So. My
apartment has a giant balcony. It's a 1-bedroom apartment, and it's $300 before utilities. After utilities, it's under $400.
And it has this, like, we're in it right now, and it has this really beautiful view of, like, the mountains, the panorama view.
Yeah, it's like 270-degree view of most of Chiang Mai.
Yeah.
I was telling you, I see fireworks all the time up on the 6th floor. There's no mosquitoes up on the 6th floor. We've got a pool here, it's great, man. And, you're right. It's not cockroaches and gunshots in the alley at all.
Yeah, for sure.
Not at all, so.
There's probably places in New York City where you'd be paying, like, 10 times as much. It's actually much worse.
Yeah, man. And so the tactics... I guess I like to talk about fundamentals, and once you've got the fundamentals in order, you can find tools and tactics to make it work. And some of those tactics that are working for a lot of people right now are like FBA, fulfillment by Amazon, people sourcing stuff from China, selling it on Amazon. Drop shipping is real popular. A lot of people are making money blogging, affiliate marketing, courses.
As we'll say, online courses. Yeah, definitely.
I mean, that's what Grant
boot camps.
Totally. Some people do things that are just they're more like a freelancer. Sometimes they're even an employee, but it doesn't matter where you are. Like you can be a translator. If you happen to speak Vietnamese and English fluently, holy cow, there's a skill. Put it on Odesk or whatever. Take any two languages like that. There you go. You can work from anywhere.
And a lot of tech jobs nowadays are also very mobile.
Yeah.
Any kind of like developer or anything.
Yeah, SEO, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, nice.
There you go.
Anything else you want to throw in before we wrap up?
No, I think I'm pretty good. So plug my stuff again. BetterMeGame.com, ODonnLife.com. That's where the mastermind stuff is. Go check it out. Lots of, the free game. Go play it. Tell me how it goes.
Yeah, for sure. Nice, man. Thanks so much for joining me today. I think we covered a lot of really useful stuff, like all over the place. It's good. I love this kind of conversation.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Cool. See you later.
All right. See you, everybody.
Hey, entrepreneurs and experts. I just wanted to thank you for listening to this episode. And I hope you learned at least one new big idea that helps you evolve your skills and gets you closer to monetizing your expertise and creating that successful knowledge business. Make sure to hit that subscribe button on iTunes and Stitcher and check out MYEpodcast.com for all episodes as well as the tips and tricks mentioned in this episode. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.